Yo, what's up, everybody? Back again. We had another Materia Cup this weekend. I was not in attendance due to RPG Limit Break, which I'm sure all of you tuned in on. If you haven't, go back, check it out. YouTube.com/RPG Limit Break. I commentated for the Indivisible run and the Persona 4 Golden run. And I also was the host for the first half of Shin Megami Tensei 5, was involved with the finale and an interview, and yeah, it was a ton of fun. Again, it's my favorite event of the year, and if you're a fan of RPGs at all, like you say you're a Final Fantasy fan, there was a Final Fantasy V run by Zik, who you might know from the FFTCG. There was also a Final Fantasy VII All Weapons run by Creative Ellie. Just a lot of really, really cool stuff. But you're not here to hear me talk about speedruns. You're here to listen to me talk about the Chicago Materia Cup. So, the Cup had 148 players, and it was crazy. It's the largest Materia Cup, I think, at least since I've been following the game. It's by far the largest Final Fantasy TCG tourney, and it sounds like it was awesome. I really wish I could have been there, but this was our top cut. Something interesting to note, by the way. I think Cullen is a 3 of in every single deck, except for one. This is where I do the dumb thing. Hold on. But, yeah, calculator is going to show up. 61 divided by 3. Never mind. Okay, it's not a 3 of in every deck, but man, it is freaking close to it. But yeah, so top played cards, they're always interesting to see. I mean, a lot of these make sense. I mean, every deck that can play Kakullen or Amaterasu or Mist Dragon is probably having to very strongly consider these cards right now. So, I mean, Kusith is a fantastic card. It's one of the best filler cards. Like, all these cards over here make sense. That's not... None of this is surprising to us in the slightest. What is surprising is our winner. Our winner was Tory Kelly's... I've been calling this Tyvis Realm. I'm sure people are going to call it Firewater Monsters. Basically, this is the Tory Kelly special. Y'all stopped paying the Tory Kelly tax, and y'all paid for it, basically. This is a different build from what he's been on. He's been traditionally... It's really funny. So, some background on this. I was talking with Tory Kelly at the Winter Cup, and when he played the Water Wind monster deck, and he said that, like, that was the third best variant of his deck, but he only had access to wind and water for the event due to the decks his teammates were playing, so it's the one he could build. And that deck ended up, like, taking off in the meta. Japan really, like, saw the list, loved it, and ran with it. And he's like, that's the third best variant of Realm, by the way. So, just a kind of fun thing to laugh about a bit is that, like, that was not the best variant of the deck. And I don't know if this is better than his normal Earth, Fire, Water builds. I do like the fact that being on only 2 colors makes it a lot more consistent. And we have a lot of kind of must-kill threats. Like, Tyvis is really cool in that Tyvis provides a must-kill threat for the game. But we have a lot of those. We have... Firion, is a card you have to deal with. And Shinryu, and all of the monsters. Like, it's a really difficult deck to threat evaluate on. Going through here card by card, Minwu is another card that's a must-kill. And the cool thing is this deck has a very big tendency to both ramp backups, but also it can go low on hand size early. And Minwu loves both of those things. She loves having ramped backups, and she loves having an empty hand. I imagine she's why the one copy of Poo-Poo is in here as well. It's just like a really nice thing when you go to a no-card hand with Minwu. You can just cycle through the Poo-Poo and just pay 1 CP, draw 2 cards. And if that was Minwu's text was 3 CP, draw 2 cards, it's the best card in the entire game. Or 4 CP, draw 2 cards, it's the best card in the entire game, basically. Firion comes down in this deck extremely early. It's basically unblockable. The Demon pairs really well with our Hasty Goblins. Shinryu, I would love to see how this performed on the weekend, because there are decks that this will absolutely hose. Things like Refia Control really struggle to get it off the field. And if they do not get it off the field, it becomes Pot of Greed every single turn. But It also is, like, it's a search target for Princess Goblin, which is great, but it's a search target that doesn't do anything for us, so it can kind of clog our hands. I guess if we don't like it in the matchup, you could search it with Princess Goblin anyway, and then just discard it to hand size later on. It's not the end of the world to do that. And, I mean, yeah, this list is just really, really solid. The aggro, so that we can kind of stunt wind a little bit. Also, like, our ice, like, against Laswell, Yagrosh is, like, really, really nice to have access to. Gives you a chance against Knights. I still really don't know how Tory... If you ever play one of these decks, and I think everybody should try one at some point, the way Tory handles aggro is fascinating to me because it really doesn't play like a deck... There seems like a deck that should do as well into aggro as it does. It's very fast. It's very... Like, once it gets going, it's really, really strong, but I would almost say the comparison reminds me of, like, a better version of the Archfiend Warp deck. And that's not saying that, like, you know, this is significantly better than that, obviously, but it's the same kind of thing where, like, it really needs a couple turns to get going. Like, you really want, like, the turn 1 Larsa for Realm, turn 2 Realm, you know, get out the Atomos and the Goblin, then get the Princess Goblin, and just kind of, like, start cascading from there. But, I mean, that, again, that's, like, the first Goblin and Realm don't really do anything, so, like, against, like, aggro, you can just kind of be dead before you ever get off the ground, and, like, the Shinryu doesn't stop that at all. You know, against Knight, Shinryu literally doesn't have a target. Like, they're not playing any 3-drops in that deck. So, I guess we have the Demon, but, I mean... Yeah, we've got 6 EX bursts. We're not looking to burst our way out. Like, I'm very curious. I mean, I guess we can Amaterasu them at the right time, maybe. It just seems like Knights would be such a difficult matchup for this deck, and maybe you just don't respect Knights. That might just be the play. Is just assume like all the Earth Water that was at the event's going to take the Knights out for you. But yeah, no, this list is really interesting. It's really creative. I still wonder if like one copy of Evray would be really good here over like one of the goblins. We can recycle the one goblin with Minwu anyway. Like, the extra search target's really nice too, though. I don't know. I just wonder if like maybe there's room for the one Evray to pull out of the deck. If we're like we already have the goblins. Maybe you just always want to pull the goblin out. You don't actually care for the Evray that much. Some other fun stuff. Seeing Red 13, so we have a warrior backup. Is this the right one? I don't know. Like getting Tyvis, play search, go, or like even I guess like Demon for 1 CP, give it haste, swing, clear the field. You don't really care if it leaves the game after that. But there is also the red that's just like discard a card, do 7k. I almost wonder if that would just be a better backup. Like the idea here is clearly we want a backup to fetch off of Tyvis or for Tyvis to be able to play for us. This just like has decent-ish utility for that, I guess. Also kind of funny, like I think me and him are like two of the only players that are still like, no, you don't understand Lopper, it's like the best card in the game. And I guess like actually now I think about it, it's one of the coolest things you can do is Princess Goblin searching Shinryu into Loperate turns the Princess Goblin search into real card advantage, which is really cool actually. And then you still have the Shinryu later on if you actually like are okay with cracking the Princess Goblin. I didn't even consider that. So I think Loperate probably makes the Princess Goblin what you want to have a light target now, and Shinryu's probably one of the best ones there is. I do wonder... I gotta go and check, but how many light cards have EX burst? I know there's Tidus. I wonder if that would just be better in that situation. Like, we're gonna eat our break zone, so the Tidus isn't ever gonna come back. Citra. I could see Citra being really nice in that slot too, if we're not looking for a secondary board wipe. This Lightning's still really good as well. We don't have any Yuna, Jex, or Wakas, so I don't think this Tidus is any good. There's an argument for one of these, just because EX Burst, and then, yeah, if your goal is, okay, search with Goblin, play Loperate, put it on the bottom of the deck so you draw 2 cards, and Loperate becomes, like, turn the dead card in hand into a real card, and draw another card, then maybe. Super creative list. I messaged him, congratulated him. I told him I'm not looking forward to paying the Tory Kelly tax again, but I probably will have to. Second place, we had Sam Prime. This shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. Sam's an incredible player. Knowing that Sam and Mohammed test together, it's kind of funny. I don't know if they were looking. Apparently, KP won an LQ with a lot of similar cards, so they're on the same ratio now of 3 Une, 1 man in black. Still on the 2 Sirens. This was a suggestion from me in Florida originally. Like, they were trying to find a way to beat Mono Water, and I told them, just don't play Ryan Chen and you're fine. And they said, no, we probably should have a way to beat Mono Water. And I'm like, well, your only answer is going to be Siren. It's the only card that can flip that matchup to where it's like remotely playable on your side. And that's why Siren initially went in. And it's been crazy in the games I've seen, so... other than that, I think everything here is relatively standard. 2 Heck 3. No Heck 5. I don't disagree with that. I also don't love 2 copies of Heck 3. Like, I know if you want it, you really want it, but you also have so many ways of looping the 1 copy. You have the Refia to go find it if it's like a matchup where it's important. And like a lot of the best decks are playing so many backups anyway that like it doesn't matter. And it's so dead against Knights is the other thing. So I'm not sure I love it there. And I guess like maybe you just don't care about Knights. I know this deck does a very, very well into them. But 2 Leela, 2 Leo. Again, just trying to make sure you have access to Leela. I've seen arguments both ways on that. So I was the one that pushed for the second Leela when I was talking in Florida. So apparently they're still high enough on the card as an option. Again, mostly for like if you're against a mono deck, you really just don't want to commit to the chaoses anyway. So being able to instead kind of pay 5, stick a little Leela, and then like turning your arcs into 9 CP, play little Leela for free from your limit break deck, and also your opponent discards 2 cards, just might be better in a world where just lots of bounce and only 1 color exists. We have in third, we have Anthony Apigo. And he finally learned how to not deck himself. This list is really interesting, actually. I was kind of taking a peek. Basically, a lot of things that we knew already are in this list. Some of the biggest ones. Wind has no limit break cards. It just doesn't. That's just, I guess, like you have 1 ace is all you need, and the rest of your limit break deck might as well be vanillas because Yuri is so completely useless as to like he's not worth sleeving. Like I cannot fathom how that card was printed in like the same set as Leo or even Zach. Like it's not remotely comparable in power level to that card, and I don't know what the developers were thinking. Some highlights here. The going back on Yuffie is interesting. I don't know if this is just specifically to handle Knights. Maybe you can make it where, let's see, Karilla 9/5/5, so you can wipe an entire Karilla field with 1 Yuffie special. I could see it. Mine is like a decent enough backup even in the Storm list. You still kind of end up having a lot of cards that are effectively dead draws against a lot of your other matchups. The full 3 Zidane, this is starting to become more and more normal in win decks. You just end up burning your deck so fast that you kind of just need more action that isn't from your own deck. Zidane starts fulfilling that a lot more early when you run him at 3 copies. 2 Fina, this isn't standard either. Actually, only 2 Shinri. I almost wonder if flipping those ratios would be better. Like, we're never casting the Fina. And if you want it, you can get it with the Shinryu. And when you need the Shinryu, you really, really need the Shinryu. 2 Poo-Poo and 3 Kukulin. It's also really interesting. And we're on Sky Pirate backups to enable the water while still keeping the Fiend alive. I like the idea there. I do kind of wonder if there's a better way to go about it, but maybe there really isn't. You can't run like Princess Sarah, because if you did that and your opponent Amaterasu'd it, your Shinryus would be dead for the rest of the game. I do think that from what I saw on the one stream game, I think Kites was maybe a little underutilized. This card is really, really good. But we just kind of want a secondary target for Pinello beyond just the Phylos. You want to be able to hard draw the Phylo, and then Kites is just a secondary target. Makes sense. 3 Stiltskin. Nash has really kind of become an all-star, and the more I've played with and against the card, the more I'm kind of like, yeah, nope, I get it. This card's really, really good. I do wonder how often the Fran came up. Like, I get it, having targets for Panillo is really, really nice. But I feel like Philo Kites fulfills that by itself. There might be something better to play there. Maybe like a Fiona comes to mind. You can go like Fiona for Fina later on, or like Fiona for Zidane or Yuffie if you really needed it. Not sure. It's an interesting one. Maybe a Carpenter. Tuatomos, also not standard. But yeah, I mean, this looks like we're playing the bare minimum like Storm package to function as a Storm deck while trying to make sure that we have the ability to survive against aggro. So we can kind of do a little bit of both. Anthony seemed to kill it with this deck. This is, for reference, by the way, going into Florida, I'd won 18 or 19 games in a row on Refia Control. Anthony was 2-3 against me in the Airbnb. So it's kind of funny. My confidence was a little shaken before I started playing in Florida because I started playing this weird wind, water, storm deck, and Anthony kept stealing all my best crap with Zidane. So major props. The only other question I have is if, like, it sucks. There's no lightning backups in the meta right now. Maybe you steal a Tyro though, but like Zach's not bad. If you did steal a Tyro, you could like ace into Zach potentially and like round up the ace ping. I get it. It's also cheap, which is nice, but Knight aggro. It's interesting seeing the Renoas start to go down in this over time. A lot of early lists were on, you know, the full 3 Renoa and just like we're gonna flicker and we're gonna do everything we can to win that way. The one Agrius, but we're on the bounce Agrius, which is interesting. Usually you see the 2-drop, like, gets big with FFT characters and also, like, discard if you target her Agrius. I guess, honestly, it almost doesn't matter how much power your forwards have in Knights, thanks to cards like Beatrix and such, so I could see that. One Sid, one Shantoto. And then we have the 3 Amaterasu, 3 free cast Ifrit. So Dorian recognized something that I really think people need to figure out, which is that you cannot disrespect Sid Randell. You need to have an out to your deck to Sid Randell, and casting a fire card and then free casting Ifrit is an out. Even if you cast Gawain for no value and then Ifrit, you're trading even at that point, kind of. Because you're sticking the body on field and they're losing the Sid Randell. So I like that, actually. I think that's a neat adaptation. And we have like Meath to go fetch whatever we need of our 3 summons. I've seen Cucullin as another like valid answer. I don't know what the best one is, but I don't dislike this as your way of method to handle it. Limit Break deck looks fairly normal. Mott is really kind of obnoxious. You could play Mott, give your whole field Brave, and then attack with your Knights, and then use Ramza. So, yeah, interesting couple changes. Mike Powell, this is the exact same list that he won Florida with. I don't need to talk about it too much. I've talked about this list plenty. Wet Jund, this was kind of a 4-color good stuff deck. Yeah, so this is why I really advocate for calling Refia Control. Refia Control is it denotes the actual archetype of what you're playing. Some people will call this Warriors of Light, like we're playing Warrior of Light, Arc, Ferris, or some people call it 4-color good stuff. I think it's a lot easier of a denotation to say this is 4-color good stuff. Refia Control is Refia Control. Because I think it really, like I said, it explains the play style of the deck so much better. And Cecil is, like, this Cecil is such a good card, as it turns out. And, I mean, we have a lot of really interesting stuff. Cool to see Vossler showing up at 2 copies here as well. That's a card that I think is has a lot of potential. And I'd like to see what ends up coming with that. And actually, I think With the way Vossler works, if you had the attack on Vossler, you should be able to just tap an Earth back up to play Cecil. I didn't think of that. For whatever reason, that's how that interaction works with Tilica, so it should work here. That's kind of cool. I don't know if that ever came up or mattered, but that's really cool. Yeah, we had the Arc Warrior of Light combo to get the to get like your whole field out of the way of like big board wipes. Rosa Warrior of Light is like I miss Rosa Warrior of Light so much in Refia control. It's so powerful. 3 Zidane, sure. I really think this card is the most overrated card in the game. It was really funny. There was an on-stream match where it was a Refia control player versus a Gigawall player. And turn 1, the Gigawall player like played, I don't know, Arya or Larsa, searched out Warrior of Light, and the Refia control player pitched 2 cards to play Zidane, and the Gigawall player had 2 7-cost Gigawalls in hand. And everyone in Twitch was like, how could people say Zidane's a bad card? And I'm like, well, they got insanely lucky there, first of all. And second of all, they still lost the game. Turns out they invested 6 EP into a forward that didn't give them card advantage as a control deck. And Zidane died the very next turn to a stiff breeze. And now all of a sudden this deck that needs to get set up isn't actually actively getting set up anymore. It's not good. Like, even if it was Amaterasu, at least in Amaterasu, both players discard cards. When you do Zidane, you're just committing to that. I really do not think this card is as powerful as people make it out to be. It's annoying. It sucks. I don't enjoy seeing it used against me, but I don't think this card is that good. I think if this card had any element combination that wasn't exactly Fire Wind, or if there was a just remotely playable Fire Wind card, I think this card could be cut from lists and it would not be missed. I've actually considered even playing Vaughn in Refia Control because Vaughn has an EX burst, and Vaughn allows you to potentially play a 4th backup, then play Vaughn, activate your backups, play Warrior of Light, which you can't do if you play like a deck like this. If you keep having your backups attacked or disrupted or frozen, you'll never cast Warrior of Light. Like it's impossible. If you continuously have a backup removed or whatever, Warrior of Light can't hit the field. And Vaughn would allow you to get around that. I think that potentially is as powerful as what Zidane does for you. If we're under the assumption that Warrior of Light is one of the best cards in the game, then enabling that should be something to consider. The only reason I don't think the only thing this matchup this is really, really helpful against is Chaos Arc, because Chaos Arc is trying to line up exactly Chaos and Arc in hand at the same time, and Zidane makes it difficult to do that. But even in that situation, well, there's that, and also protecting like a Refia from an Amaterasu. But even in those situations, there are other cards that could do what Zidane does, I feel like. So, there's my Zidane rant. Everybody can make fun of me in the comments again. I'm sure people will. So, this is Rest with Refia Control, but a different variant. Basically, we're trying to go slim down on backups. Really, we've slimmed down on everything. 1 Une. We have 1 Onion Knight, 1 Ishtola. We have 5. How do we have room for all this? 2 Lunith, 2 Arc. That all makes sense. Oh, because we're not playing the Arc forward. We're still like no Shantotos. That's understandable. So our lightning card of choice was Onion Knight. Again, this is kind of becoming standard to find something lightning that your archetype enjoys. I really have become a Golbez enjoyer in this slot, but I do understand that like Onion Knight is searchable off of both Tyro and Sarah. And it's not outside the realm that you could theoretically time warp for it with Barts. I think this is too many Bartses. I think 8 Bartses is way too many cards. If you're against an aggro deck, I think they're going to run you down, and the more I've really played with it, he just kind of has just enough little vulnerable points where I've shifted off of playing Barts, but I do understand like the power of not drawing a bunch of dead backups over the course of the game. Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, this looks relatively normal. I do agree on at least like I will say when I played the Barts variants, the card I missed the most is actually the light Barts. I think this card is extremely underrated. But yeah, yes, we have the arc back up when Cryo. Yeah, so we're kind of like again we're both mixing it. The other thing that's kind of tricky here is I don't know if we have enough win cards to really play the Barts consistently. So the one thing that I noticed with the Barts variant and why I ultimately stopped playing it is let's say that you do the normal thing, you go Sarah FFL, search Barts and Barts. Well, now I have to draw a wind card in my deck that has 14 wind cards to get the first Barts in play, which probably is another Barts. And then, even with that scenario, I had to pitch another card from hand because none of the backups are odd costed. So, yeah, it ends up being like a lot slower, and by the time that you get set up with this variant of Barts into the mirror, it's not uncommon for the pure Refia control that's not using the Barts variant to just Tidus you and kind of win the game on the spot when they do so. But yeah, again, pretty cool list. Definitely, you can see the cost of playing the Barts is stuff like the Lev 6, the second Mist Dragon, no King Tycoons, no Arc. The Opus 10 Arc has been just beyond an all-star for me, but we have to play a win backup, and Wall is really, really scary to play. Let me tell you. Oh, one more thing. Rest play the game on stream against Knights. I think they really needed to. I think against Knights, when you're playing the Barts variant, you do have one advantage over the normal Refia control. You don't have the burst to get you out of bad situations, but you do have the ability to go for Warrior of Light off of nothing. You can go Barts into Warrior of Light and then try to get into a Refia. And basically you make it where they're out to the situation is they have to find exactly Ramza. If they don't find Ramza, you kind of can't take damage. And a lot of them aren't on Ovelia, so Warrior of Light's pings deal with Laswell very cleanly. So I think beelining for Warrior of Light would have been better in that matchup, and he didn't prioritize it. I think that that's just kind of what you have to do in that matchup to give yourself a chance. Is you prioritize Warrior of Light, using Cloud to stop the Laswells as you can, and then just try to get Warrior of Light plus Refia established. And even just using Refia as a Rosa proxy works in that matchup in particular. Might need a little more testing though. Other top 8 deck. Another Chaos Arc. Mostly standard. We basically swapped the Sirens out for 2 Porums. I don't hate that. Porum is a really obnoxious card for a lot of decks to deal with. Everything from Refia can't really out it very easily. Like you use your Refia reactivation to deal with Porum for the turn, or like Ferris can't kill Porum, which is really annoying. So this is our first showing of Mind Flayer, I think. And I'm not sure how to feel about it. I do understand the idea that like if you hit a Warrior of Light off your opponent, or if like you're in a mirror match and you hit like a Une or something, it's like crazy. I don't think I played 2 of this card ever. I think like if you wanted to do this, I think you could play 1. I think it's nice, like, if you see a lot of Chaos Arc mirrors, first of all, you're just kind of casting a card from top of your opponent's deck, which is really powerful. But also it helps you win the deck out war. I'm honestly not convinced it's better than running 2 copies of Anima would be, actually. I think Anima is really slept on because, like, what does your opponent do? Like, so many decks right now are reliant on a very small number of forwards. If you're looking to go to deep and go to deck out anyway, and we're not playing Siren, so we apparently think that we can win, that we're okay going to late game anyway, looping Anima with Man in Black is basically impossible to push through with a Yuna on field. So I really would consider Anima over the Mind Flayer in these slots. I think it's just, or at least like 1 copy of Anima, I think is so impactful. But I don't think there's too many other crazy things on that list. 30 minutes. I'm going to kind of run through these. John Schreiner was on Mono Water. This is notably not Mono Water Gigawall like he played in Florida. Lots of kind of small things. The Blue Mage is coming in here because Warrior of Light EX needs... Occasionally you want a forward that's not... or that standard unit to search. This is just kind of one of the best generic ones considering how strong Sahagin Chief is. I do wonder if we just slept on Sahagin Chief for so long. Like, this was like a Leo card for a long time and just getting like stronger and stronger and stronger. I think this card was just kind of underrated at all times at this point, which is, you know, and it's cool to see us, like, the community start to recognize when cards are really powerful. Yeah. Artemisian. Love Artemisian, by the way. I think this card is also another card that's really slept on. I think the second mulligan is so powerful. Basically, any opening hand that has Artemisian, you can just keep. There's no reason to ever mulligan it, because you can just do a partial mulligan of every card in your hand if you wanted to. Windbreak deck is optimal for what it is. That makes sense. Alright. Up next, Will Coggill on the Hancock style Gigawall list. Pretty normal. We did kind of adopt the Mute Remedy Citadel. I think Citadel is great. I'm really not sold on the Remedy and at all. I almost wonder if that's like, she's like okay, I think, but I don't know. There's got to be something we can do in this slot. I wonder if like the search remedy is just better. I mean, every deck in the meta searches right now. Like, that's why the 3-cost Mog is so powerful. I think forcing a discard and then like if you play that and your opponent has to like search on, like, plays a searcher that searches another card, you then play the remedy, like you're guaranteed. I don't know. It's so impactful in that situation. Getting Sid out of 6k range also matters a lot, so I understand that part of it. And then I'm still not sold on the water cards. I really think that, like, outside of exactly finding Warrior of Light, they don't really hold their value anymore. Like, they don't hold their own. I really liked it when it was, like, Refia and whatever else, but, like, we'd rather be playing lightning cards at this point, I'm pretty sure. And between, like, Cloud LB or whatever, you know, a bunch of other things, which just means, like, you just have to find other ways to get to Warrior of Light. I think cards like Moody, cards like Princess Goblin can fill those slots instead, and we just, like, what are the water cards here doing? Lena's okay. She's like a draw card. Sure. Onion Knight is fine. It's like it can be a bounce, and then it's also like a slightly sticky forward that's like above curve. Do we need to play the Onion Knight at 3? I don't know. Just kind of some shower thoughts. I've had a fire ice lightning build that I'm like pretty happy with. So interesting as well. We're on 5 Crystal Gem backups plus this Bahamut. So really valuing that. Again, you have to deal with Citadel right now. Okay, we're gonna kind of go through it. This looks like the exact same list. Swapping the Bahamut for Cancel Leviathan. This list does one of the biggest sins. Like, you're playing the card. How are you gonna play Citadel and then play a deck that loses to it? What do we do if we get Citadel? Do we cast Axstar and then hope to live a turn? Cast Leela? Let me tell you, that Leela's not leaving the field if that happens. Like one Bahamut, just one Bahamut. I'm losing it, y'all. One card, Cucullin. Play Cucullin. It's okay. It's okay. Moving on. Chaos Arc. Normal ratios. Uh, yep. I think this is the exact same as Sam's, which makes sense. Fire, ice, lightning. Yes. Oh, we're just a Giga Chad. No, we're not. We're on water. Never mind. We're playing Glaciella instead of the Lena. We're just also playing lightning, sort of. A couple lightning cards. I mean, I don't hate it. Axis is so good in Giga Wall. Ishtola is like fine removal. I don't think Irvine's a great hit. Like the thing is, like, Giga Wall hitting Irvine doesn't generate card advantage. It's just annoying for the opponent. So I'm not a huge fan of that. Okay. Ryan Shen. This looks like it's pretty much the same list. One copy of Fusoya, I think, is new. Other than that, this looks like pretty much the same exact list. I'll have to ask Ryan how often Fusoya resolves, because in theory, I think Fusoya is as powerful or better than Tidus with a much lower investment. You could very easily go 5 backups, draw, pitch Leo, and then just full send to Fusoya. And you're stacking your opponent's deck, drawing a card, getting back a summon. And thanks to the Kusiths and all the card recovery in your deck, you can just do it again. So I think that's actually, like, really scary. So actually, I really like the one Fusoya. I'm curious how often that came up. The rest of the deck makes a lot of sense. Also, I'm curious if, like, Montleonis had enough cards to play himself very frequently. But, like, again, if you just... Any way to kind of get the Warrior of Light into play at the right time can really make a difference. And then, you know, the 5 backups, Leo, Warrior of Light, Tidus combo is very much alive in this deck. So, Sydney on Refia control. This looks like pretty much the same list. We got rid of the one Ingus backup for one Ingus forward. It can cost 3. Would I pay 4 for this? 4 to search Bosch, Une, or Warrior of Light? Because, like, Tyro Cryo is really common. Maybe? I do like having the one extra Warrior of Light backup name, though. Even if, like, it means that, like, there's some awkward situations where you, like, have 5 Warrior of Light backups and can't cast 4-color Warrior of Light. But I feel like in that situation, you're just kind of happy to do that because it means that your Refia just has so much more text in that situation. Skimped on those 2 to make it happen along with that. Okay. The 1 Ishtola, the 3 Zidane, all these all make a lot of sense. We're just going to not acknowledge the name here. This looks like the same as John's list. Sam on Refia control with 3 Zidanes, 2 Bosches. Okay, so we skimped on summons a little bit. Yeah, we cut the Amaterasu levies down a little bit. Also snuck in 1 copy of the Demon. I'm not sure the Demon is better than... I'm trying to think if I would play if the Demon's the best one. I guess the Demon is recurable value, which maybe that's why the Demon is better than, like, a Shadow Lord would be. 3 Tyro, 3 Shantoto, yeah. Okay. Yeah, basically, the 3 summons are gone for the extra Zidane, the extra Bosch, and the Demon. I think the rest of this is pretty standard. So this is Knights with Shinryu and Miwa. Cullen. This is pretty close, it looks like, to the list from Kansas that I know played against Tory Kelly in round 1. I understand why we're splitting our meats. I know there's like some cool things of like being able to trade in a 2 cost to go get like a Miwa or like another copy of Laswell. But if that's the case, run 3. Like, you know, it's kind of one of those situations. Just like pick a lane. Like one of them has to be better than the other, and whichever one's better, that's fine. But you should play that one at 3. It's like I could even see it like being a 3-1 situation where it's like, well, like getting that first backup in Knights actually matters a lot for the Ramza and the Karilla, and both of these are like just there's no card that does what those do. I don't think that would ever be true. Like I would play Moody or Saz before that, but like I could see a world where that's the case. I don't think that world is this one though. I think that being able to guarantee the Karilla or the Ramza or the Amaterasu once you're set up is too much better than this weird Meath split that we have going on here. So, like, we could play Moody in this slot. Saz, I think, would be really, really nice. EX Burst, Search. Maybe even, like I said, Moody. Fire, Water, Backup. That says by ability text. Like, okay, what else says search in here? I feel like something is just not working in this because I know there's more than that. I have some setting that's not correct here. On a backup that says search, single element. Oh, it's ability text symbol, not element. Got it. Okay. Let's take a peek. So far, not too much popping out. No, Ezel doesn't work. I was like, is there an Ezel line here? But no. For Ezel to work, you'd have to discard like an Amaterasu or something. I guess you could discard like a water, like a 2 and a 2/2s and then search Gawain with Ezel, which could then potentially be nice. But no, I don't think that's a little cope, I think, on my part. Yeah, I mean, Moody's just never really bad. Wolves, let's see. Ico, go get a Beatrix. Maybe. Or a Steiner to go get a fire card. It's not horrible. Yeah, I mean, I think I would just be on Saz or Moody, to be honest. Just guarantee access to the Amaterasu. Even Cloud's not terrible either. Just get extra copies of the cards you have on field to make your opponent really sweat. Okay. Brian Savalos. So there's a couple of like individual deck specialists in NA. There's Tory Kelly, obviously, with like the monsters. Probably me with the Retainer Storm. I don't think anybody else really plays that deck in NA. And Brian is like the other name that comes to mind as like this Cat 4 tribal crystal deck. No one else plays this deck. People don't really know how it works. I know that he did a deck profile after the Winter Cup. Go check that out. He'll talk about it some there. A lot of the ratios in here, to me, don't feel like they're perfect. I feel like... But again, I think this really speaks to the power of Cecil as a card. And how underrated it is to the point where, like, Rosa Cecil is a legit powerful turn 1 play. You take a damage, gives you a chance at an EX burst. You get to then tag the Cecil out on your opponent's turn, play a 4 cost. If you play like a Claris, then you have like the King Tycoon Milena like backup line. Like, it's so strong. But there just aren't a lot of people that play this deck, so. Alex Early. More Man in Blacks here than most of these lists are on, but for the most part, this looks pretty normal. 3 Anima. I actually really like that. I think that's a decent choice for the mirror. Okay. Never mind. Alex, I know you watch this channel. Alex runs or is affiliated with the Warriors of Light YouTube channel. Don't do this. If you're going to play Chaos Arc and you're going to brick on Chaos Arc, play 3-3. I hear Zik yelling at me because Zik did this. He said, I bricked it. I'm like, okay, and I'm like, yeah, you're gonna brick probably at one point, but it doesn't matter. If it's worth investing in these cards, it's worth indexing into these cards. If not, that's fine. You don't have to play Chaos Arc, I don't think, for this archetype to work. I actually think you could play Earth Water with 3 Anima and like replace the 2 arcs with like Mind Flayers and then like run like a Shadow Ward and a Neo X Death in the forwards and just make it like impossible for your opponents to actually damage you. I think that is a very valid thing that has not been experimented with enough. Or like 2CP Summon Recovery Porum, right? Like, there are so many things you can do, but Chaos without Arc is a brick, and Arc without Chaos is a brick. If you're going to do this, you really should probably be on 3-3. You want to maximize the value of each of these cards for the deck building, because the deck building cost is so high on them. And if they're not pulling their weight to where you're thinking, well, I don't want to brick on them, I'll run them at 2-2, then let's look for an alternative line. Let's find cards. Let's bump the levy to 3, put the 2 Mind Flayers in or something. Like I said, there's definitely ways of using this like control summoner or summon control slow win the game with Une Man in Black. And you never have to resolve Chaos and Arc to win that game. Like, if you're against in the mirror and you anima every single card they play, they'll never win, and they'll deck out first. Think of like the Refia control list, how few forwards they're on. Having you have to discard some of those forwards to get your backups into play. Maybe Refia control really only has 13 forwards they can play over the course of the game. If you heck 5 and anima them over and over and over again, they will not be able to damage you. So, yeah, I can't get behind that. If you're gonna brick, like, don't try to mitigate that. It's not gonna happen. You're just making your bricks. You're gonna make those bricks feel a lot more common because they're going to be. Because I do think that you brick until you get both the Chaos and Arc lined up. Yeah, pretty normal Refia control. Only 2 Sarah FFL is probably the most surprising thing here. Over with the second Ingus, sure. So in Refia control, Sarah FFL is awkward. She's like, you have to play her first, but you don't necessarily want to be thinning out all of the Warrior of Lights of your deck. But like, if you draw her at the wrong time, she's almost a dead card because she's hard to actually get onto the field. So while she's like one of the most powerful cards you can have on the field, actually getting her there can be a struggle. So I sort of understand that, actually. Chaos Arc again. This time we cut the Man in Black for the Fiend. This card's really, really powerful. 3 Amaterasu in this. I would not be on 3 Amaterasu. I think that's a little risky when your only way to cast it is either another copy of itself or the Tyro. It's a very powerful card, but it's a powerful card once you get ahead. I don't know. I feel like this deck is like built to kind of play from behind almost. That's an interesting one. If we had like a copy of Leo or something, I would feel a lot better about it. Or if like we had like even like a Kate Sith 11 backup. So like, the idea of them being, or like if it was like one, but like being on three, it seems really bold to me. More knights. Interesting to see this range show up. We're on Agrius, so you can still get all the backups there. We're also on the Ovelia. I think there's an argument, especially if you expect to see a lot of knights, that Ovelia can be a mirror breaker because all of your stuff now. Like, if you think about what Ovelia does in the mirror, you win every fight unless they have a Beatrix on field. And if they do have the Beatrix, they still have to play a knight to pump their field. And you also get your Laswell out of their Garland range, which I think is actually really relevant. The Sid Randell. The 1 Bahamut, we don't lose to Sid Randell. The 3 Cullen. Yeah, I like it. I think this is a really nice take on Knights. This is probably my favorite Knights list I've seen so far, to be quite... maybe not. I don't know if I love the Agrius and Rain. Like, the haste on Rain is nice, but I like just the 3 other Agrius. Because, like, if you hit this Rain as your only Knight off of Karilla, I don't think you're very happy with that. So I feel like we should have like bumped the Agrius to 3 and that to 3 if we were gonna do that, but I don't think that's worth it or correct at all. It's a neat idea though. I see what they're going for. Chaos Arc again. Lots of extra forward stuff here. We have 1 Porum, 2 Sirens. This is kind of like almost a forward heavy version of the build. I'm amazed we had room for 2 Mind Flayers with all of that. I really don't... Like, the one deck I've ever really been happy with Mind Flayer in was the mill list, where you almost didn't care what you stole. Like, if you stole a card that drew you a card, you were kind of happy, but the main goal of Mind Flayer was just making sure you won on deck out. And to me, we just have a better version of that now with Anima. Like, yes, if you steal a Warrior of Light, you feel like a god. Or if you steal an Arc or something, you're a god. But you don't have a way of setting that up, so you're just kind of rolling the dice at that point, when you could just have the strongest removal in the game and still guarantee a deck out win. I kind of just think that's better. I'm going to be quite honest with you. Like, if we're playing Mind Flayer, you have to play Yuna to enable it. And we don't have any ways of stacking outside of Lev 6, but like Lev 6 Mind Flayer means you're only stealing a light or dark card, which means your Chaoses are not live anymore. Unless you're in a mirror match and they have a Chaos on field somehow, and if they have that, like, I don't know. I am not a fan of this card in this deck. I'll put it that way. I think there's just so many things we could be doing instead. Between like Anima or Heck 5, which I guess we have 1 copy of. Yeah, we're coming up on an hour. This is... I'm assuming this is Tory Kelly's roommate. I know that he was at the event. And this looks like this is the Tory Kelly list. We swapped out the Lightning for the Shinryu, it looks like. But in every other way, this is the Tory Kelly list. Let me just preface this. This is beautiful deck building. The only thing that I'm looking at and going, man, it's questionable, is we're only on 2 Realm. And I know that like the idea is like, well, we want to like search the Realm with Marrowweb. Or even like Tyro. Like if you play like Tyro into Marrowweb or to Realm, like you're okay with that. I feel like we should have a Larsa in here if we're gonna go to just 2 Realm. Like maybe the 3rd Realm could be a Larsa instead. Go to like 2 Bosch or 2 Mira, and then go to add 1 copy of Larsa to the backups, just to guarantee we have like the Realm as early as we can. Because like that's the goal of the deck is cast Realm turn 2. If you don't cast Realm turn 2, she gets worse and worse over the course of the game, because you start drawing all of your goblins. It really is beautiful deck building though. I really like this list. So much utility, so many interesting options. And I don't think people are prepared to play against this deck still. This list is really, really cool. Keep an eye on this list. I would not be surprised if this deck was piloted by a good enough player, this could win a Materia Cup still. I'm very, very sorry, Tory, if you're still watching at this point in the video, for forgetting to rank Realm decks inside of my tier list at the start of the Opus. I thought that like the Wind Water one was going to fall out of the meta, which it has, but I should have trusted that you were going to get it back in there. So that's my bad. I didn't pay the Tory Kelly tax, and yeah. Mono Fire. I guess yeah, it's Megissa. Not nothing too crazy here. Minwoo really slots into Megissa naturally, I think. I don't love Iodolis and Megissa. I get the idea. It's like it's extra copies of Megissa. Once the first one dies, you can like revive like any of these and feel pretty happy with it. But yeah, it's not my cup of tea, I think. Emmanuel Padilla. This is a Refia control list. Lightning card of choice is Onion Knight. Backups for standard. We're on no copies of Lev 6, so we could get the third Zidane, one Ishtola, and the Bashin over my list. Everything else looks the same. I could see it. I really... Maybe I will consider doing that. Okay. Do I have... This is where I'm going to do this silly thing. I'm going to pull out my binder and see if I have two foils of Zidane. That's the wrong binder. Which one is it? It's going to be... That's 19. It's 20... I'll have to check. It's going to be a yellow one. 19. If you're here in the video at this point, I do have no foils of it. Are you kidding me? Well, alright. In that situation, maybe I won't try it. But I'm going to try Vaughn in this slot and see if I like it. And the ability to actually cast Warrior of Light more often and see if that's actually better than what Zidane brings. But we'll see. And then Kyle Peters. Kyle has a really good breakdown of his deck and his gameplay. There really is not a lot of content from like really good players breaking down their mindsets and their plays as they go through it. I really think that's really valuable. You all should go. It's KP Talks as the YouTube channel. Go send him some love. Say hi. It's a long video, but again, I think a lot of like those breakdowns and understandings helps you to be a better player. Even if I don't agree with a lot of what he says or his decision making, I do respect him a lot as a player. And listening to him and some of what he says, I think really does bring new perspectives, which will help me be a better player in turn because I'm going to make more informed, correct decisions the more I play. Again, about the main thing that I disagree with here is just the Mind Flayers. I think there's got to be a better card in this slot. So, he talks about like trying to preserve his LBs for Shantoto so we could clear its homos. I sort of get what he was going at with that. I don't really agree with the line that he took, but I think by the end of the game he kind of realized that it wasn't a correct line for him to take either. I think that in a deck with two Shantotos, you two have to like... Because actually, I will say that like against monster decks, I have done that before where I'm just like, well, I know that I can't clear those monsters any other way. And I know that I can't use my Leos, basically, right? But I think if you have to cloud, you have to cloud. And I think at that point, you should probably consider just, okay, I have the Shantotos anyway. And the card advantage difference is just so big. Either that or, honestly, I think he could afford to have been less afraid of the Zidane. Which was like the big card he was scared of in the matchup. Like if Zidane steals one more card, I'm not going to say who cares, but like a lot of times when you kill Zidane, I find that it enables them to go for a bigger Zidane on a future turn. Whereas just letting the Zidane do something for an extra turn and just putting a big body in front of it can almost be like better in some situations. Like, you know, I think he was off to a decent idea when he had like the Une on an early turn just to try to like force them to like basically said find the Amaterasu, not the Amaterasu, the Alexander in your deck or lose. I actually really liked that line and what should be a bad matchup. So I think that like early Unes are extremely underrated in Final Fantasy. I think this card is so powerful. Oh, the other thing that I disagreed with is he never once cast Mist Dragon. Let me tell you, if you're a mono wind player and you get your break zone ripped out from under you when you cast an Azura, you lose that game. If you go for Lulu and there's a Mist Dragon, you have lost the game probably because you have to have. You've just burned your best card in Lulu. She's a 3 CP vanilla 5k now. And you just spent 1 CP to basically fizzle their entire playline. I think Mist Dragon is one of the most impactful things you can do. Like, next to Amaterasu on Rosa, I think Mist Dragoning the break zone is maybe the best thing you can possibly do. Like, I would almost never throw away a Mist Dragon against Mono Wind. Food for thought, KP, if you're here hanging out. Really, really enjoyed the video. Was a lot of fun to listen to. And, yeah. And that's it. That is the entire breakdown. This video is an hour long. I'm not going to hold y'all here any longer. But I figured the longest event meant that I should go over as much of top 32 as I could, since really was a lot of fun to watch. Big shout-outs as well to ShantottoCast for their hard work this weekend on making sure the event stream was there so we could actually watch the games. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was really cool to be able to hop in, see what was going on. If you guys ever want tech help, like I mentioned it in chat at one point, there was the weird audio issue of like one commentator went in one ear and one went to the other. I'm pretty sure OBS has a setting that should set your audio to be mono, which would flatten your audio and put both of them layered on top of each other and then pump them to both ears. Like, you don't need stereo sound for a broadcast. Like, the sound should be the same. But if you want me to like kind of look into that and see if I can help y'all figure out a way to make that work for y'all, I would love to help out. So yeah, thanks for watching, y'all. I'll see you in the next one. And oh, final thing. This probably Friday, maybe Wednesday. Depends how packed up I get. I want to do my 1K subscriber stream. I'm gonna talk to a couple players, get some games. I'll try to talk to like Rudros. I'm thinking about having Zik on for a deck building challenge, or a speedrunning deck building challenge where we do some stuff. I've got some neat ideas for that. Maybe we can go from there. You all voted in the poll. Let me actually pull that up and see. But yeah, you guys wanted to see what it would look like for me to build. I think the Cydia Tribal one, followed by what was the other? I know that the deck that y'all didn't want was Leah, which is funny. I thought y'all would want Leah to make me kind of build a deck that I mentioned I really didn't like very much. Oh, I did say I was on that. Oops. Oh, Warp Turbo. That's right. Yeah, I should have posted. I didn't realize I put an actual date in the thing. But yeah, I'll have a live deck building, live deck sage. We'll go over all of your decks. It should be a lot of fun. So come tune in. And yeah, I guess I should put that. I'll put that in the community page tomorrow, probably sometime after this video is already up. So yeah, thanks for watching.